an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.28% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 11,490, a high of 11,533, and a low of 11,137. That's $1 for 8,696 Satoshis. Volume was 4,474 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 75% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 59%. Our top stories today: Bitcoin to end 2020 in style. 3 key factors predict Bitcoin price surge. 3 key macro factors raise the probability of a prolonged Bitcoin bull market, but a short-term correction is very likely. The price of Bitcoin has increased nearly 30% since late June, from 8,905 to just under 11,500 as of press time. Following the strong rally of the dominant cryptocurrency, 3 macro factors point at an optimistic medium-term trend. These macro factors, blah, blah, blah. Let's find out what the factors are. Fading dollar benefits Bitcoin. A persistent narrative around the long-term prosperity of Bitcoin is the decline of the United States dollar. In recent months, primarily due to the pandemic and the U.S. economy struggling to reopen, the dollar's value has fallen against other reserve currencies. Gold correlation. Possibly due to the falling dollar, gold and Bitcoin have seen a more correlated price cycle in recent months. According to data from Skew, Bitcoin and gold have rallied in tandem since mid-July and have similarly pulled back simultaneously since the first week of August. And finally, long-term macro metrics. Various on-chain macro metrics suggest Bitcoin is seeing an extended accumulation phase where investors are increasingly purchasing Bitcoin with the intent of holding. Grayscale, a cryptocurrency-focused investment firm with $5.9 billion in assets under management, found that the number of Bitcoin held for over a year has increased substantially. Looking at how much Bitcoin has been held for more than a year is a supply-side metric to help investors assess Bitcoin's value. If the number of investors are holding increased, then less Bitcoin is available to trade on exchanges, thus less supply. Fearing inflation, investors hoard gold, Bitcoin, and whiskey. Okay, gold and Bitcoin I get. Tell me about the whiskey. Commercial property investor James Scott's new favorite asset is a lot more liquid: whiskey in casks. At least 4,000 liters of it stored in a warehouse in Scotland. He was introduced to whiskey on a second date with his now wife, who teased him for ordering vodka. Scott started collecting bottles for 5 or 6 years ago and has switched to casks. He recently sold a 28-year-old cask of Bunnahabhain, produced on the Scottish Hibernian island of Islay, after it appreciated 10% in 11 months. Whiskey certainly outperforms inflation in casks, Scott said. There's no question about that. What if inflation doesn't materialize? For Scott, a good tipple still has one edge over purely financial assets. Whiskey's got more soul, he says. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out as an investment, you can have a great party. Bitcoin in the early stages of a bull market. crypto wallet data reveals. Now, as a number of high-profile investors turn to Bitcoin amid unprecedented coronavirus stimulus spending,
there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
The biggest Bitcoin and crypto wallet apps, including Coinbase, Blockchain Wallet, Crypto.com, BRD, and Binance, saw record combined downloads in July, suggesting to some that Bitcoin is in the early stages of another bull market. Tether tops PayPal and Bitcoin for average daily transfer value. The average daily transfer value for Tether exceeded that for Bitcoin and PayPal in August. Over $3.55 billion were moved through Tether as of August 20th. That's around 20% more than that of Bitcoin, which reported a transfer of $2.9 billion. Bitcoin braced for an inflation bombshell. Bitcoin has gotten a lot of attention in recent months as a potential hedge against inflation.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
In May, famed hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones set the cryptocurrency world alight when he revealed he was betting on Bitcoin to protect against the unprecedented expansion of every form of money. Now, U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is this week expected to lay out a set of measures aimed at pushing inflation higher, something that Bitcoin market watchers fear could be playing with fire. Powell, due to speech on Thursday during a virtual version of the Fed's annual Jackson Hole conference in Wyoming, is expected to signal a more relaxed approach to managing price pressures that could mean a stronger rise in long-term U.S. inflation. The Fed chief will outline what could be the central bank's most active efforts ever to spur inflation back to a healthy level. CNBC's financial editor Jeff Cox wrote on Monday. Powell is thought likely to use the phrase average inflation targeting, meaning that the Fed would allow inflation to run higher than its target of 2% for a while, as it spent some time significantly under that level in the aftermath of the March global market meltdown sparked by the coronavirus crisis. Especially at this time, for the Fed to announce that it's about to actively devalue the money in people's accounts doesn't seem like a great idea, Matty Greenspan, the founder of market analysis company Quantum Economics, said by email. As it is, with all the stimulus going on, people are already questioning the value of money. The Fed is basically playing with fire here. The United States has pumped trillions of dollars of stimulus measures into the economy in response to the coronavirus pandemic, while the Fed indicating that there will be more to come. I am very concerned about the road we are heading down, Bitcoin and crypto investor Anthony Pompliano wrote in his popular daily newsletter, pointing to the weakening the efficacy of central bankers' tools, the widening wealth inequality gap, and the inevitable demise of the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. While people are celebrating the stock market and real estate values being at all-time highs, what they don't realize is that assets being worth more, but dollars being worth less. Meltem Demore, Chief Strategy Officer of CoinShares, a digital asset investment firm, said via email. Some expect a weakening U.S. dollar to further boost the Bitcoin price, already up around 60% so far this year. The major impact for crypto out of this symposium would be a change in monetary policy and a further depreciation of the U.S. dollar, which could propel Bitcoin higher. Matthew Dibb, co-founder of Asia-based provider of cryptocurrency trackers and index funds, Stack, told Bitcoin and crypto news outlet CoinDesk. Bitcoin, which has a hard limit of 21 million possible tokens, has developed a reputation among some as digital gold, putting it in contrast with fiat currency.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
And infinite is a lot more than 21 million. Printing of historic sums of helicopter money that's pushed into the financial system has devalued the dollar and prompted inflation fears. Nigel Green, chief executive of financial advisory group DeVere, said via email, adding, "You can't just print Bitcoin." As uncertainty heightens, investors will pile into safe haven assets, in particular those not tied to any specific country, such as Bitcoin and gold, Green said, predicting the upcoming U.S. presidential election and weakening dollar will serve as high-octane drivers for the Bitcoin price for the rest of 2020. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.16% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 11,477, a high of 11,533, and a low of 11,137. That's $1 for 8,713 Satoshis. Volume was at 4,552 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 75% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 59%. Thanks so much for joining us. Give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Until next time, bye-bye.